Your METALWORKS Radiant AR-D panels will ship in well-protected crates. To prep the panels, place on sawhorses with cardboard on top to protect the finish of your AR-D panels. This tool ships with your AR-D panels. You can order extra if you like. Notice the notch about 2 inches in from the end of the tool. This acts as a stop when inserting it into the copper tubing. Prior to installing the AR-D panels, you will need to curve your copper tubing upward for supply and return, as well as panel-to-panel connections. When bending or curving upward, start with your hand close to the end of your tubing while applying gentle, steady pressure to release the tubing from the extrusion's bosses or saddles. As the tubing releases, you can pull your hand back 6 to 8 inches. As you curve your copper upward about 2 inches from the face of the panel. Your tubing that is closest to the diffuser should be raised a little higher than the outside tubes for better clearance. Now, we'll install the U-bends on each side at one end of the AR-D panel. There are no connections needed. Each U-bend inserts into the ends of your copper tubing. Prior to inserting your U's, you will need to prepare your copper ends, then apply your flux prior to soldering in place. On the opposing end of this panel, we will install our 360 interconnects that will connect this panel to its adjacent panel. Sometimes it's best to perform these connections once the panel has been installed for ease of panel installation. The copper prep work for U-bends or 360 interconnects is the same. You'll need to refer to your mechanical drawings for proper copper connection layouts. Now that the soldering is complete, we can lightly tap the copper back into their bosses or saddles with a rubber mallet. The AR-D panels have diffusers that are integrated into the middle. You want to make sure prior to installation that you have your plenum box installed, as plenum box attachment to the panel on the wall side will be difficult once the panel has been installed. The extruded cross braces on the back of the panel are used for tying off your 12-gauge hanger wires, which must be used for a properly secured panel installation. There are 2 pieces of insulation dividing panels in your crate. These not only protect the panels during shipment, but they are most importantly installed on top of your panels to force the AR-D panel's radiant heat downwards. Next, we're going to show you how to cut an AR-D panel. This panel we'll cut down to 113.5 inches. We'll first remove the black colored blocks at the end of the panel, then take out the blank out. Next, we'll flip the panel over, mark it and cut it, followed by reconstructing the panel back together. These black colored blocks come off in 2 pieces with a little prying from the claw of your hammer. Next, the blackout is removed by moving 4 screws that hold it into place. We're turning the panel over to expose the face so we can mark and tape it off prior to cutting. It's important to protect the finished side of your panel with blue painter's tape while the scrap falls to the floor. A metal cutting circular saw that is made for cutting metal is what you will need to use for cutting these panels. It's important to thoroughly clean the cut shavings off the face of your panel before flipping over to continue your prep work. Otherwise, these shavings on the sawhorse will scratch the finish on your panel. With a file, you'll want to smooth out any rough areas along your cut. After cutting the panel to length, we'll need to measure back 7 inches to mark where we will need to cut our copper, then properly lift the copper from its bosses or saddles high enough for the saw to clear your cut locations without hitting the panel. The same dedicated metal circular saw will work for your copper too. After cutting the copper, we'll need to run a deburring tool through them as well as a copper brush. Our next step is reinstalling our black H blocks that we removed prior to cutting the panel. As a final step to the reinstallation of the H-blocks, use a cold chisel and hammer to seat them into place. The blank-offs we previously removed will need to be cut to length as well to fit our newly cut panel. Make sure to deburr the cut ends, then reinsert down the middle and secure with 4 original screws. Our final step in putting our cut panel back together is the reinstallation of our cross braces that your hanger wire ties off to. A copper U needs to be installed down the middle at this end of our cut panel. Since this is the first panel down a series of panels in a run, our outside copper tubing will be outfitted with longer pieces that will serve as our supply line connection points up in the plenum. This end of the panel will be complete after we reseat our copper into the panel's bosses or saddles. Turning to the opposite end of this cut panel, we need to lift the copper tubing that will receive the 360 interconnects that will connect this panel to the next panel in a series up in the plenum. Some final prep with the copper brush and this cut panel is ready for installation. We'll suspend this panel with 12-gauge hanger wire just as we did the first, with 1 wire at each end plus 1 in the middle. After panel installation, connect panel to panel with 2-legged hold-down clips. Use hold-down clips for installation down the length of the panel, which serves to hold the panel tight to the grid, while allowing for panel expansion and contraction as the panel heats and cools. Installing your 360 interconnects up in the plenum is often easier because you don't have to deal with copper tubing that extends past the length of the panel when you're installing it up in the grid. Here, we have just installed our terminus panel and our beginning panel. You'll likely have much longer runs on a real project with several continuous panels in between. The insulation you save from your crate will need to be cut down the middle because of the integrated diffuser we have running down the middle of these panels. This will make it easier to tuck in and around the copper down each side of these panels. These panel diffusers are shipped with balanced airflow coming out both sides of your diffuser. If you want to adjust your throw, a flat bar inserted will allow you to adjust towards the window or out into your space.